I wanted to get this game for a very long time. Okay, not specifically Kyorochan Land. Any one of the many different versions would have been fine for me. A puzzle platformer with a distinctive style and a cult following sounded right up my alley. Then I got it and played it, and the problems with it became obvious really fast. I need to apologize up front if you hear any problems with the game's audio. Kyorochan Land emits a constant low buzzing sound when you're playing the game. It's not on the menus, it's not on the intermission screens, and it doesn't happen while music is playing. Just listen to this. Because of the way I tune the audio so that my voice doesn't get drowned out by the game, I can't really hear it anymore through speakers, but if you've got headphones on, you might pick it up. I considered applying an audio filter to get rid of the sound, but one of the things I do with Famidaily is I try to present the game exactly as it was on real hardware. And on real hardware, Kyorochan Land emits a horrible droning noise. So I kept it in. Oddly enough, that sound doesn't occur with the US version, so this was a special edition just for Famicom players. Kyorochan Land has a fairly complicated backstory. It started out as a computer game released in Europe as Nebulous. That version was wildly successful since it was one of the better looking games for 8-bit microcomputers in the 1980s. When they brought it to the US, it was renamed to Tower Toppler. From there, a Game Boy version was developed under the title of Castelian, and that's the version that wound up on the NES. A year after those releases, plans were made for a Japanese release of Castelian, and the port was pretty close to release under that name. There are Japanese advertisements for Castelian, which would have replaced the little green frog guy with a knight. At the last minute, they added the license for a food mascot, changing the main character, his attack, and the collectibles on the bonus stages. Kyorochan is the bird mascot of Morinaga Chocoball. They're basically peanuts coated in chocolate. The goal of the game in Kyorochan Land is to get to the top of the tower. And the very first thing you're going to notice here, assuming you don't fall into the instant death pit one step away from the start, is the distinctive view of the tower. As you walk left and right, the platforms rotate in and out of view. Obviously, you can circle the entire tower, and finding the path to reach the top will often involve having to loop around. In the game, the A button takes some actions, while the B button pauses. That's right, B button pauses. If you're standing still and you hit the A button, then Kyorochan kicks out a Chocoball. The ball can destroy the, I guess they're oranges that are rolling around, but nothing else. In fact, if the orange is bouncing up and down instead of rolling around, it can't be affected by this. So you'll need the Chocoballs to get through stages, but it's a one-purpose tool. If you're walking and you hit the A button, then you jump. Now, given that the world is divided up neatly into tiles, you might think that the jump was calibrated to cleanly take you over one tile, basically moving you 2 tiles. Nope. The jump goes about a tile and a half distance, which means if you jump from the middle of a tile, you won't land cleanly on the other side and will fall backwards into the gap that you were jumping over. The good news in Kyorochan Land is that you'll only die if you fall off the bottom of the tower into the water. You can get hit by enemies and they'll just knock you down a little bit. The bad news is the game is still just about impossible. This is a game whose levels have been designed by a sadist. One of the most common things in this game are tiles that just fall away when you walk on them. You can't tell them apart from anything else. You'll just be walking along and suddenly falling. And inevitably, these are placed exactly where they'd be the most annoying. I can picture the level designer rubbing their hands together with glee going, "Oh, I'm gonna really get them with this one." Except you're not really gotten by it. You were just caught in a trap that you couldn't see coming. And the real threat in Kyorochan Land, once you've gotten moving, is the time limit. Even on the early stages, there's not a lot of room for mistakes, but on some of the later stages, there's literally no room for mistakes. Performing the 5th stage perfectly leaves you with 2 seconds on the clock. This is level design that's made to punish you for daring to play the game. There aren't many features on the tower. There are elevator platforms that when you stand on them and press up, you'll automatically go to its maximum extent. There are bricks that have to be shot out, otherwise you'll fall down when you touch them. And there are doors that you'll need to press up to enter. The most annoying enemy in the game are the most persistent. These blobs that appear at the edge of the screen and then slowly cross. Their speed doesn't move properly with the tower rotation, and really you need to get off of their level to avoid them. The best trick I found was to use the doors. Just wait until they're close, enter a door, and then go right back in again. If you manage to reach the top of the tower, after you receive some bonus points, you'll advance to a bonus stage. Here, the A button only jumps, and your goal is to collect as many choco balls as possible while getting to the end. The blobs still appear, but now you can jump over them. If you manage to make it all the way to the end, then you get a time bonus for the next tower, which will only really be helpful if you happen to already know the layout of it. You start the game with 3 lives and 2 continues, but a kindness was added to Kyorochan Land, something not in any other version of the game. A password system. You get passwords before you start ascending any tower, and to use those you have to press select on the title screen in order to access the options. On the options screen, hitting select starts the option, while up and down selects the menu items. You can even turn up the difficulty if you're a real masochist. Kyorochan Land is a game with a bit of a reputation in Japan. Mainly, it's remembered for being weird, absurdly difficult, and totally unfair. I saw more than one commentator refer to it as top-tier kusoge, or crappy game. That reputation has actually made the price on Kyorochan Land go pretty high. Not quite in the 10,000 yen club yet, but it's really close. It helps that it's also one of the rare Famicom cartridges out there. It was one of the last 10 that I had to get for my Famicom collection, though I also put off getting it for a while just because I knew what it was like. I will give Kyorochan Land this. Adding passwords has made it the most player-friendly version of the game. But even setting aside the technical problems with the sound effects, this is a game that's just made of frustration. It's a game of cruelty and spite. There's a good concept behind Kyorochan Land. Shame that they also seem to not want you to enjoy that.